there, viewers. My name's Torinski, and welcome back to another DCSS Sunday. Today we're jumping back into the usual routine, trying to get a win with every species in the game here. Of course, where we last left off, we had just gone to Vampire last week. Unfortunately, had a little bit of a rough start. Hopefully it won't lead to any Deep Elf Curse shenanigans, or at least nothing on that level, but we'll jump in today, fresh brain, feeling a little bit more prepared, I guess. Maybe not so much now that I already am stumbling over words, usually something that I feel pretty good about. But regardless, we'll have to see what the dungeon has in store and what we're able to do today, and hopefully see some good progress. So without further ado, let's get ready to hop into it. Hey Narkaski, good evening to yourself. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. I'm definitely having a good one, getting lots of good solid relaxation time in, which has been lacking for me recently. Had a very busy couple of weeks. I'm glad to have a little bit of stress off my plate. I hope it's the same for all of you out there as well. Of course, we'll get rid of poor Edvard's name. Didn't quite do the Van Helsing family justice there. And that leads us to what we want to do for names today. You know, I had a couple of ideas going in. Do we want to continue the Van Helsing line, or do we want to try something new, at least for the first run off the day? And I think I'm leaning a little bit towards column B there, because one thing that didn't come up in our name brainstorming sessions last week, surprisingly enough, is the most terrifying of all vampire characters. His cries ring out in his victims' minds for the rest of their lives. Of course, everyone knows what I'm talking about here. It is the one and only, the Count. So let's throw one of these in here. We'll try and terrify the rest of the dungeon denizens with our cries of and see how it goes. We're also going to go with Earth Elementalist, since we were trying to do that last week, and unfortunately, in my panic to get the names picked and whatnot, I accidentally picked Ice Elementalist again. So now we can get that opportunity and hopefully see some good stuff come of it. So of course, jump in here, get our skills a wee bit sorted. Probably won't be trying too much transmutations, at least for the moment. So let's just focus down some earth magic, bring it up all the way to 10 probably. We'll see how long these numbers stick around. We might need to do some shuffling depending on what we find moving forward. Then, as always, get our auto pickup sorted as well. All those evocables, of course. And last but not least, do a quick morgue dump here. Let's pop that bad boy open. I know I made a bunch of jokes about how blinding Notepad is last week, but it's hard not to when that gets thrown up into our face. And we will plop this bad boy up on the screen just in case anybody at home wants to play along for themselves, see how they fare in the same dungeon setup. It's always a good time. So with that out of the way, it looks like we are pretty much set to go here. So let's give it a shot, shall we? Do I stream anywhere else, like on another platform or YouTube? I don't stream anywhere else right now. It's just on Twitch. I think, Ninja, if I remember correctly, you actually came from the YouTube side of things. You know about the videos being posted over that direction. And if you're watching this down the road on YouTube, anyone, hello. Hope you're having a fantastic whatever time of the week it is for you. But at the moment, just streaming on Twitch. Who knows what the future holds in that regard, but since I'm generally just streaming the 2 days a week, it's not a huge deal. Mostly doing this for a good time to interact with all you lovely individuals out there and have some fun. So let's get popping here. Yeah, YouTube just wondering? Yeah, no, thanks for asking. Give me a chance to shout out if there was anywhere else that I was active. What happened to our frilled lizard friend and Snack? Hello? Don't know exactly why they lost sight of me there. Apparently I'm more stealthy than I give myself credit for. But at the start here, we want to try and not use Sandblast too much, at least not until we have a plethora of stones at our disposal. So we can hope that we keep running up against some weaker enemies for the moment, at least until we find a nice store of rocks so that we can get blast in left and right a little bit later in the run. Wow, this character's having no problem with these fights. I swear, the majority of characters we play, especially squishy ones like vampires at the start, usually have a bit of a struggle in these first few fights, especially since we were barehanded at the beginning, and yet here we are. So how about that? When we don't really need it most is when we're getting all the lucky rolls in the world. But hey, maybe that's all this character needed to get the ball rolling, and then we'll be a-okay moving forward. See, that last kobold fight, that was a bit more what I was expecting from each and every single one of these encounters so far. Vampire stealth is too strong, you guess? It must be. Unfortunately, we haven't really been playing into that style too much over the course of this section of the series. Maybe that's something that we could change. Maybe that's where we went wrong last week. But at the end of the day, Earth Elementalists are pretty dang strong, so I feel like we'll be alright no matter how we shake out here. Just need to give it our all and see what happens. Ooh, getting more stones there is pretty fantastic. That will greatly alleviate the concerns that we were talking about earlier. You do love to see it. Let's keep plodding on forward. What was my brain going for there? Plodding, I guess, is a word? Maybe? Not one that I use very often, so it sounded weirder said out loud than I expected. It's funny how often that happens, especially as somebody who reads a decent amount, but occasionally has those words come up where you've never actually said them out loud before, and you don't realize just how odd of a phrasing it is until you're in the moment. What better time than live in front of the studio audience? Hello, Jessica. You're definitely going to be a wee bit of a pain here. We'll have to let you step forward once. Hopefully, we get some good hits, and we do indeed, because that fight could have definitely taken a turn for the worse. First unique is always a bit of a touchy spot. We, of course, haven't really been paying attention to our spells quite yet, because we're waiting for mostly Stone Arrow. I probably should learn Pass Wall, and I think I will do so here, just in case it does end up saving our lives. Definitely worth the investment. It's only 2 points. And it's one of those spells that has so much utility, so I always tell myself that I'm going to use it and just kind of forget it's an option. So that's something we can work on today, is just making sure to be a little bit more cognizant as to what our available choices are in some of these terrifying situations we can find ourselves. Oh geez. Interesting, so is this the same kobold here that was over here? I don't think I've ever stepped on a blinking trap like this with asleep monsters around. Huh. Didn't know that would keep them asleep. You'd think that being jerked through a distortion in space and time would be impactful to your general quality of sleeping, but hey, maybe I'm in the wrong here. Still something that scientists are trying to work out, I'm guessing. How does vampire work now anyway? You don't think you've played one since the removal of food, and you're pretty sure you don't have the 5 satiation levels anymore? You do not. They've brought it down to just 2. It's just a binary. You're either bloodless or you are alive. So in the alive state, you have really good regeneration. You have a biting attack, but it just does a little bit of extra damage, and that's about it. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I'm missing. You can see invisible in both states, but that's, I believe, the same as how it used to be. And then on the flip side, when you go bloodless, it gives you some resistances. You get immunity to poison, some cold resistance, max negativity resistance. I believe you lose like 20% of your max health, so you become a little bit more fragile. And what else am I missing? I mean, you can definitely turn into a bat. So I can't remember very well how the 5 or 6 satiation levels used to work in order to draw a line as to kind of where the current statuses sit in regards to that. But it is just the 2. Though the majority of players that have been forced to win with vampires in the current meta, I feel would argue that there's only one state, because why ever go bloodless unless you absolutely have to? Which is definitely fair enough. I feel like we saw some issues with that last time. We used our bloodless trait to try and get started in Snake, since we didn't have any source of poison resistance, and it was a bit of a tough spot to be in for sure. Especially with the lack of our electricity, we immediately kind of found ourselves in some troubled water. But we'll see today if we end up using any of those features of the species, or if we're able to kind of roll through it in our own way here. Who's to say? There we go. Managing to kill that orc. So basically sounds the same as before, except no in between. So yeah, you would say that the bloodless is pretty much like the far end of the spectrum that there used to be, and of course alive, pretty similar. And the bounty guess, since bloodless was clearly the best state to be in after early game. Right? That's what I always thought. I always thought that why wouldn't you be bloodless at a certain point? It's so nice getting those free resistances. But I guess the health does really hurt. And speaking of really hurting, again, I kind of alluded to the idea before that we were getting way too lucky for our own good. And again, this is a little bit more what I came to expect. Oof. Okay. Well, you have a bit more health left. Do I just go for the swing? Or do I try a single potion? Isn't super likely to save our lives. It could be, even a curing would be appreciated at this point for that little bit of health. Could be curing or heal wounds, in which case it could potentially save us. Oh, geez Louise. I guess a magic potion would also do it. You know what, let's take a drink, shall we? Turn into a tree actually might work out for us. The little bit of extra max health could save us from a smite. But it's gonna be close. So we're gonna swing a few times. Come on, give me back mana or hit. Oh my gosh, it still didn't kill them even though we hit. One more smite and we are dead. That's about right. Oh no, the count. Oh no, you didn't get to flourish at all here in the dungeon. Guess you should probably stick to the Sesame Street instead of delving down into the deep, because oof, what a start to our day. That was a shame too bad. And it's because I didn't use his full name, Count Von Count. Dang it, there we go. I knew there had to be a reason, because otherwise why would the most terrifying vampire of all face any sort of trouble in the dungeon? You know, it didn't quite jive, didn't quite make sense, but that explains it all. Perfect. And the big perk of Bloodless before was getting free spells. Yeah, without the spell hunger, for sure. Makes a lot of sense, but horror count gonna be thrown by the wayside today. The other side of it, besides not using their full name, of course, their full title as it were, was the fact that we also abandoned the We also abandoned the Van Helsing line. There we go. The Vons and Vans are all getting mixed up in my head. And so we paid the price for doing as such. So I think maybe we'll take a trip back there. And as for what we want our first name to be, you know, I had some ideas. I think we might start off today with another one of the more terrifying vampires in existence, Peter. For any of you fans of What We Do in the Shadows. But let's try it out. Peter here is going to try and make their way through the oldest vampire of the housemates. How could it possibly go wrong? And we're going to give Earth Elementalist another shot here, another shake, seeing as how that was a bit of a rough showing. And so again, let's just throw some of these bad boys on. Oh, geez. Mispressing all my buttons today as well. Of course, auto pickup as per usual. Right, when we came to this screen on the last run, I thought to myself, there was something else that I normally press here, and it's stones, but Earth Elementalist is one of those few starts that actually begins the run with auto pickup on stones, since you do need them for that Sandblast. And last but not least, we'll drop the seed again. Hopefully we get a bit better of an opportunity to actually explore the seed this time. Maybe entice people to give it a shot once we find all of the best artifacts the game has to offer within the first few floors of the dungeon. I believe. So let's throw that up there again, just in case anybody wants to join in on their own from at home. And we'll give this a shot, shall we? Immediately finding a weapon, always a nice get. Leaves us in a slightly better position for these early fights at the very least. And another pile of stones here will also do a heck of a lot of work for us. Oh my gosh, as we almost get murdered by a rat. But hey, that means that we won't see quite as wild of a swing from getting all the luck in the world on the first floor of the dungeon to becoming exceptionally trash tier luck against a single orc priest. So maybe, just maybe, it'll all work out for us in the long run. It's like when you find loot that is too good to be true and you know that your run is cursed for an early demise. So we can look on the bright side and just be happy that we're getting about average luck. That's all you can really ask for at the end of the day. So we continue to smack our way through. When we have runs that don't end up going very long, I find I have less and less to say in the early section of the dungeon because, let's be honest, D1 is just what it is. You kind of make your way through. There's a lot of tabbing going on. Maybe you get a bit of an exciting run and you find that D1 adder, but special instances like that aside, you're generally not seeing too much of note. At least you would hope not. Of course, this floor is when things have the potential to get a wee bit interesting. But again, we'll cross our fingers and hope that it's nothing we can't handle. I'm going to use Sandblast. I shouldn't. I should definitely just have fight against a bat. That's somewhere where impatience gets the best of me, leading to less than ideal plays, but we should have enough stones to get away with it unless things go horribly wrong. And not too shabby. And we get a sewer on this floor. Gloves is a nice find early on. That extra pip of AC could be the difference between life and death. And then, as for my usual strategy here, I'm just going to try and make my way towards a corner. Chose bottom right this time. Generally gives us the most information as to where the sewer isn't at the very least, which, as we can see from the message below, not in this quadrant of the map most likely. So we will head, let's go up next, shall we? Ooh. Summoning book could definitely be of use for us. Still getting very distant, so I do believe that we'll just head over this way. Far reaches of the known map. And see if we get a better message, like distant, perfect. And say if you had a promising run of BO, then you accidentally renounced. Oh no. Then you're like, crap, what god is good for melee? Trolloc, of course. BO invocation is 20 plus, you just went ahead and maxed it to 27 for no reason, and then died in the lungs. Oh no. You know, it must have been a pretty extreme accident, because if I know you would never leave BO knowingly. A kind of betrayal. Top 10 anime betrayals. Safe at leaving BO's side. So I'm sorry to hear it, but definitely can feel that. When you don't know what to do with your character and most of your good options are ones that don't fit with all the training you've done so far, at least you put the respect on BO's name, even from beyond the pale of servitude, by making sure that you continue to max out invocations just to let BO know what they meant to you. Okie dokie. Hopefully this sewer is not too bad in terms of challenge. I mean, it is wonderful to get a steady supply of scrolls early on like that. You do love to see it. And we just need to survive, which that was a little bit closer than I would have liked. Let's give it another shot. Ah, here we go. See, now this is terrifying. In fact, this exact setup might have gotten us killed earlier. We have a 68% chance to hit these sons of guns. We could also try for a fancy move. I'm trying to think of where Pass Wall could potentially come into play here. Oh wait, that was on our previous character. We forgot to learn Pass Wall. Whoopsie daisies. Well, yeah, big Monk Eye energy on the snakes for sure. Do we just try to start slashing? By which I mean, of course, blasting. I think we'll give it a shot. It's 1 down, 2 down. Perfect. Definitely could have gone a heck of a lot worse, but I'll take whatever I can get. And hopefully that's the most fearsome thing that we find throughout this sewer for the day here. So I don't know how much more we could really reasonably take, unfortunately. Turns out, I was wrong. Okay, down to 7 health. These buddies deal up to 3 damage and constrict for up to 1. So even if we killed the river rat in 1 hit, we might be in trouble. No time like the present to start chugging. I mean, and as a vampire, you feel like you gotta go for the red potion, right? It would be silly not to. Let's give it a shot. Potion of Magic. Generally, nice potion to have. Not exactly what we were hoping for in this case. Do we just blind chug another? After how well that turn went, not taking any damage, makes me regret not just going for the Sandblast on the River Rat and hoping that that worked out for us, because the River Rat's 10 damage is where the brutality really comes in. Oh, geez Louise. It is a stressful start to this evening. So green either means health or poison. This we know to be true. We need to use all of our video game logic to come up with a cohesive plan here. If we didn't already find a potion of magic, you'd think that inky, that nice kind of deep purple hue would be indicative of magic. A brown potion. You know what? Maybe this is a Holy Grail situation and the most plain looking potion is the one that will give us eternal life, so let's give it a shot. Hey, perfect. Exactly as planned. Do we just keep going? I think so. Hopefully one of these hits. 78% you'd think would happen with a little bit more frequency. Please game, please just give me a chance. Perfect. Oh geez Louise, purple is clearly mutation. Ah, there we go. Well, that's some good deducing right there. That's a very appropriate color scheme, to say the least. We also got free IDs of noise and degeneration, so that's pretty fantastic. We can not clog up our entire inventory with those this time around. Save myself the hassle later down the road. But okay, we have to take the second lease on life that we've been offered, that we've been gifted, and make sure that we take it, or take full advantage of it. And Peter here will be victorious. Let's actually learn Pass Wall, rather. And what else? Do we want summon small mammal? Could be nice to have a body to throw in the way. Wouldn't be the end of the world. Stone arrow is definitely going to make the cut. It's a little bit expensive at this stage in our journey, but obviously it'll be good to have some nice firepower on things that won't have that chance to evade it. Instead, we just need to get killed quickly. And I think I will learn summon small mammal. It's only 1 level, pretty straightforward. We'll give it a shot. Hey Rain, how's it going? Hope you're having a great weekend. Thanks as always for dropping on by. And again, for anyone who wasn't here for the initial welcome, then I hope you too are having a great weekend. Hope that all is well in the world. Or at least our lives. Let's not get too ambitious. Wish you all the best. All you absolutely fantastic folks out there. As we get back on the road here in Dungeon 3. Have our second lease on life, and that's all we need to succeed. Perfect. Hey there, friend. Now there's a nice stabbing opportunity. Don't need to risk our lives against Natter this time around. Fantastic. Oh right, and that was rampaging. I don't know, does anyone want to put down odds now as to whether rampaging continues to be a boon to us, or if it ends up being the ultimate source of my final demise? It's definitely something that I've had trouble with in the past. Just constantly forget that I'm wearing rampaging equipment. Let's hope not this time around. Well, my friends, there's still that large group of gnolls wandering around somewhere on the level now. Unfortunately, they've all been woken up, but ideally we can kind of get just the shaman on their own. I want to worship Yered? I don't think so. Wujian is kind of interesting. We could go for a bit more of a hybrid build than what I was initially planning to do here. I was going to go for a full kind of blaster caster. But if we want to throw in maybe some unarmed combat, since we will most likely be speccing into some level of transmutations, whether that just be statue form, the goat of all transmutation spells, or something like dragon form manifold assault combo. Oh gosh, the shaman is with them. I think we'll continue fighting for a wee bit. Fortunately, the shaman is standing in front of all their friends, because otherwise we'd have to worry about them hasting one of these other gnolls and getting us into a wee bit of trouble. So let's just blind this son of a gun. Oh no, we have Corona. That's not good. Not what you want to see. We'll also try to blind that son of a gun. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out quite as well for us. And, you know, I don't really want to fight a jelly as soon as we're done this encounter, so let's accidentally throw some poison darts, since I thought Sandblast was still in our auto quiver. There we go, that's better. And yes, you friend, I do not want to face quite yet. I'd like to be at the top of my game in full form here. And as for you, let's get a small mammal out there to potentially help us out, and fantastic. That's 2 red highlighted enemies that we managed to defeat so far. I'll definitely take that, and we'll continue through the rest of the floor. Shouldn't have too much more of note here on D4. I'm hoping that the gnolls were about the worst that we'll come across at the moment. This wand might be worth buying sometime down the road. And what else? We could grab a trident. Oh my gosh, I didn't see that there's a quick blade in here. Holy moly, quick blade on D4. How about that? Still a ways off in terms of cash flow, but maybe we'll end up taking that son of a gun. We will not fight you, Natasha. And you know, I wasn't actually paying attention to what kind of orb this was that we came across earlier. In fact, we still don't know, so let's quickly run over there. An Orb of Wrath. Ooh. Definitely not what we want to see here. That's a very interesting use case orb. I don't know what kind of character could really benefit from it. It seems like it would mostly just be a bit of a deterrent and put you into a bit of a troubled spot. But it's very likely that I'm missing out on something obvious and clever. A yak pack in D5, hey? How about that? Unfortunately, that's a bit more than I feel comfortable handling at the moment. It does remind me that I might want to have a bit more firepower at our side, so let's grab Stone Arrow while we have it on the brain here. And I think we might turn transmutations back on for just a wee bit and try and get that Petrify up and running, because that will also give us an exceptionally good offensive and defensive spell all kind of rolled up into one. So that sounds fantastic. As for these friends, guess we just kind of block that area and hope it doesn't bring us that direction. It being the Auto Explorer that I throw far too much faith in, too, of course. Just asking for trouble. Do I go for a Stone Arrow now? I can only cast a few of them, but I'm hoping to just destroy the Necrophage. Guess we can do Sandblast now that we've done the initial damage. And I think that that worked out slightly better in the end, especially since we did immediately miss our initial shot. Perfect. We only have 24 stones left, so maybe I should start being a little bit more cautious. In fact, that almost becomes an argument to use Stone Arrow instead of Sandblast, even for some of these easy encounters, because hey, if we can get through and we're not too worried about max mana, then Stone Arrow should be just fine. Perfect. More of the same. Finally get some half-decent wands to our name as well. And no need for us to head up that way. In fact, maybe I should just take the keys out of the Auto Explorer ignition. Make sure I don't do anything too silly. What do I do with you, friend? We do go up to 27 evasion with the Amulet of the Acrobat, so that's pretty good odds just for running away from these Sons of Guns. Even if they get random energy, not too likely to regret it on our end. Let's see. 1 Stone Arrow, 2. It's not bad. Mostly just that first one, of course. The rest were kind of low-key trash. We'll see if we can't beat a single yak in glorious combat. Perfect. That's all you could really hope for. So yeah, go get, you mentioned the Poison Scroll that's currently in trunk again here. The Poison Scroll is like the old Ignis ability, but with poison instead of fire. So what do you mean by the old Ignis ability? Because I wasn't really paying close attention when Ignis was making their way through trunk. Is it something that's different from the Foxfire effect that Ignis has now? It's completely opposite use from Holy Word. Seems like a strange replacement to you. Oh, it replaced the Holy Word scroll. Interesting. That's too bad. Holy Word was one of those scrolls that, sure, generally it'd just burn a hole in my backpack, never being touched. But when you do find those situations where you're able to kill off like an early group of undead using a Holy Word scroll, it's so satisfying. But again, maybe a bit too niche of a use case. It's always interesting what kind of decisions go down in the development cycle. Generally, I just trust that they have a bit more of an idea of what they're doing, because so many of the changes that I might have thought ill of to start out ended up being just great once they were put into practice. No complaints from my end, but I am also a fairly simple man. I'll take whatever I can get for the most part. Holy Word is mostly useless early game and great extended, and poison opposite. That makes sense, yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting for sure. Probably just part of continuing to make the game harder. Well, that one's funny because it does almost kind of go against a lot of the other changes that have been made in that regard. Where just so often it's like making the early game harder specifically, and then mid to late game is either equally as affected or not at all. But I'm kind of a fan of making late game harder to a certain extent. I mean, maybe more so for extended runs, because that way it keeps it a bit more exciting. So often on an extended run, once you get past the first 5 runes, you know your character is probably going to win unless you do something stupid, and it becomes that more of a marathon than anything else. But definitely an interesting one. The Poison Scroll makes Poison Clouds interesting. Because Ignis used to have an ability where it conjured flame clouds on empty squares. Oh, huh. How about that? Kind of like Conjure Flame, but AoE. That's cool. I'm trying to think of what else. Poison Scrolls, as a niche case, I guess, then could also be used to ward off some of the scarier cloud effects in the game as well, as long as you're immune to poison at the very least. So that's a bit more of maybe a middle game antic than anything else. But you haven't really felt that way since New Hells? Fair enough. That's something that I need to try out a little bit more. I've been mostly sticking to shorter games since the Hot Hells drop, so I'll definitely have to take your word for that one. And it does make sense for sure. Hello, friends. Come one, come all. Okay, you, my friend, are going to be interesting. Ah, I don't know Petrify yet. Let's alleviate that, shall we? Run back to our stairs real quick. Let's learn the Son of Gun. 10% chance to fail. Let's maybe not put all of our money down on it in order to stay alive, but definitely could be a useful tool in the arsenal here. And immediately get a chance. 62% chance to work. I'll give it a shot. Give me one more. Perfect. Then I guess we can just throw some stone arrows your way, get those final couple of stabs, and that is absolutely fantastic. Okay, we should be at the state of the game now where we can start to kind of plateau off a little bit. Getting Petrify up and running is generally a pretty nice move in the direction of just general survivability across the board. In fact, hopefully we can make good use of that moving forward here, even though I went through that slightly tricky encounter, immediately missing the Petrify and then going back to Stone Arrow. But regardless, as you can see, it's another tool in the box, another option in our kit, and that's good enough for me. Once we get to a slightly stronger point here, we should be able to go up and contend with that Yak Pack, because there was another spellbook up there that I would very much like to get my hands on, if at all possible. There we go, just one of these Sons of Guns left. I think we'll wait it out, trying to get enough magic for a Stone Arrow. We're down to only 17 stones, so in a bit of a rough spot when it comes to sandblasting. Guess we went just a little bit too ham in the middle area of the run here. You've only tried Extended once and you died in New Hells, Egley, but one day you'll give it another try. Yeah, I need to try out the Hot Hells a little bit more. At least do like a full 15 rune run. I haven't had the opportunity since doing the on-camera failed one a while back. And I was very excited about the Hot Hells idea, mostly, yeah, for the entire mentality of it, getting rid of some of the tedium of a 15 runer. So I'll have to check it out so that I actually know what I'm talking about instead of just kind of speaking out my butt. Hell is not a nice place, they say. I don't know, I hear hell is lovely at this time of year. No, I think that does make a certain amount of sense, does it not? Okay, do I want to fight a Steam Dragon? I probably should have gone for like an early paralysis. Perfect, or I guess a petrification if we're keeping our nomenclature straight here. And then accidentally summon in a small mammal, of course. Just as we intended, perfect. That's one of those spells that I should probably move on to a different key before I regret it. Okay, come on, 50-50 shot. There we go. Perfect. And let's get off a few stabs here. We're able to hit way above our weight class thanks to Petrify, so that is absolutely fantastic. Ouch, you hurt much more than I expected, my shadowy friend. Only 34% chance to get you. If we try and run away, you're just going to harpoon shot us, and 2d12 is a nightmare at the current state we're in. Is this better than my own spells? No, it's like half as good of a chance. In that case, I guess we just go for the what was it, 34% chance? Cross our fingers and hope it works out. do a couple of shots here. We do land the petrify, so that's fantastic. Maybe one acid blast, then just use some fire. Guess I should maybe break out of the net while I have the brief opportunity. Okay, and we get a bunch of poison. And we managed to get space for the quick ice blast. What else can we do against you, friend? We could go for the wand of acid, but I'm pretty sure Harold is gonna die here. At least that's the dream. Has a lot of poison stacked up on them. So maybe let's save our important ones. We'll use Flame Blast. Oh gosh, I guess even just having the marked effect might do us in? Maybe? No one? Okay, I thought that would make us the most popular vampire on this side of the dungeon, but I'll take it. How's it going? It's going pretty well, Crackety. How are you doing? I hope you're having a great weekend. Thanks as always for dropping on by. And isn't Harold always? Isn't that what Harold's in the game to do? Just absolutely ruin each and everybody's day? At least it definitely seems like it from my experiences. Okay, Shadowy Altar to Dithmenos there. Jeez, was the Economical Temple on the Yak floor? I feel like that was the only floor that we didn't explore to its full extent. That's unfortunate. We're going to be a little bit behind in terms of our PD gain. But we will give it a shot. It's just so many yaks, you know? It's quite the crew they got going here. We can at least kind of turn them to stone one by one. It's maybe not the most solid of game plans, but it should work. At least until this point where we kind of run out of juice and we have to start thinking of some different strategies here. Where are the red X's? Is that a thing you can mark off areas to not auto-explore? It is exactly that. Yes, you nailed it on the head there. When you're in the X menu or the Shift X looking around, using the E key, one press will block off any tiles in sight of where your cursor is. Press E again, makes it just that tile. And of course, the third one clears it. Super useful if you are lazy like me and way overly rely on auto-explore. Especially when, yeah, you come down to D5 immediately, headfirst into a large pile of yaks. But not too bad. We do manage to clear them coming back this time around. Get enough stabs, I think, on you. Perfect. And that should mean we can clear the exclusion with a nice Control E. Pick up this lovely poison book here. Bit of freezing in there, too. Could definitely give that one a shot. Was Holy Word Scroll good in Extended? Didn't it stand to fall off compared to the extended health pools? Right, I didn't find myself using it. In my opinion, it became more of a question of, like, if I'm in Extended game, I probably have some pretty incredible spells at my disposal, if I'm being honest. I haven't done a lot of melee characters Extended, I think just one time. So generally, I do find myself just not really bothering to use them, more so than anything else, because yeah, at the end of the day, one shatter will probably do more damage than a Holy Word Scroll on some of those bad boys. So I found it to be more of a useful little niche use case where you found yourself in trouble in the early game against, you know, maybe some early Shadow Imps. You get like the undead entrance for the Orcish Mines, something fun like that. Love the name, I'm glad, Star Polemic. Glad you got the reference. Definitely one of my favorite movies, and I need to get around to actually watching the newer show at some point, because I think I've watched one, maybe 2 episodes, and I did really enjoy it, but just kind of never got back into it. It's something my wife and I have been meaning to watch for a while.